What happens when the man who built the company from nothing walks back through its doors as a nobody? Aiden Ashford stood outside the factory's back entrance, wearing steel toe boots, a faded hoodie, and a name badge that read Trevor. His beard was a little thicker than usual, hiding his jawline, and he wore thick, rimmed glasses he didn't need. No one inside had ever met him. This was one of the 9 distribution factories he owned, but he'd never visited this one in person. The company had grown fast, too fast. He built it in his garage 10 years ago, packaging eco-friendly cleaning supplies with his brother. Now it was a national brand with hundreds of employees. But lately, something felt off. Shipments were delayed. Good workers were quitting. And the last quarterly meeting with the district manager left Aiden with more questions than answers. He didn't want another filtered report. He wanted the truth. The factory was short on staff due to 3 recent resignations, no-show replacements, poor onboarding, and a burned-out team. So when the warehouse manager asked for temp help, Aiden saw his opening. He signed himself up through a third-party labor agency under a fake name. The disguise was solid. None of the factory-level supervisors had ever seen his face, and the few photos online were old or buried in articles no one here would read. Inside, the factory buzzed with noise rollers, forklifts, voices. Aiden was assigned to Line C. His trainer was a short woman with tired eyes and a ponytail tucked under a hairnet. Her name tag read Brielle Oakes. "You're new?" she asked. "Yeah, first day," Aiden answered. "Lucky you. This line's chaos," Ramon called out again. She handed him gloves. "Stick close, I'll show you the ropes." For the next few hours, Aiden kept pace with Brielle. She moved fast, but with a rhythm that came from experience. She helped him cover when he fell behind. When his machine jammed, she fixed it without rolling her eyes. But he noticed something else. She didn't take her scheduled break. Neither did the 2 other workers nearby. "Don't you get a break?" he asked. Brielle wiped sweat from her forehead. "I'm supposed to. But if I leave this line, it falls apart." "Can't someone cover you?" She gave him a tight smile. "Cover, you'll see." As the shift wore on, Aiden saw more cracks. A guy named Darren, a fast talker with a clipboard, kept walking the floor, barking orders but never lifting a hand. At one point, he told a worker to stop whining when she asked for help lifting a heavy box. He laughed when another guy dropped a crate, saying, "Guess we know who's not getting a raise." Aiden's gut tightened. He didn't say anything yet. Around noon, Aiden and Brielle were loading boxes onto pallets when Darren strutted over. His face was red, jaw clenched. "Brielle, what the hell is this?" He held up a packing slip. "You mislabeled these again." She looked confused. "I didn't touch that pallet." "That's from Line B." "You think I'm stupid," Darren snapped. "You're always making excuses. Maybe if you didn't run around like a chicken with your head off, you'd do something right for once." She began. "Shut up. I'm not asking. I'm telling you, screw up one more time and you're gone. I'll make sure you never work in a warehouse again. Got it?" Brielle's hands trembled. Her mouth opened, then shut. She nodded once and turned away, her eyes locked on the floor. Aiden's blood boiled. His fists clenched inside his gloves. Darren kept walking like nothing happened. Aiden whispered, "That true, about the labels?" "No," Brielle said quietly. He does that, blames people, makes us afraid. If we say anything, he finds a way to cut our hours or tells the manager we're unstable." Aiden's voice was low. "Has anyone reported him?" She looked at him like he didn't understand the world. "To who? The manager's his cousin." Aiden swallowed hard. This wasn't just mismanagement, this was abuse. He kept working, watching, listening. Every detail mattered now. By the end of the day, he was exhausted, sore, and angry, but he wasn't leaving. Not yet. The next morning, Aiden arrived 20 minutes early. He sat on a worn bench behind the loading dock, sipping burnt coffee from a vending machine cup. His back ached from the previous shift, and one of his fingers was still stiff from catching it under a misaligned crate. The factory lights flicked on in sections as the team trickled in. No one said much, they just clocked in, adjusted gloves, and got moving. The energy wasn't tired. It was resigned. Brielle walked past without noticing him at first. Her eyes were red, but her face was set. "Morning," she said, finally spotting him. "You all right?" Aiden asked. She hesitated, then nodded once. "You get used to things around here." or you learn not to fall behind." Before Aiden could respond, a loud crack echoed from inside wood hitting concrete. They rushed in to find a pallet tipped at an angle, several boxes spilled open, the contents leaking across the floor. A young man was crouched beside it, trying to scoop up shattered containers. His name tag read Lewis. He looked barely 20. "I didn't see the edge," Lewis muttered, panic rising in his voice. "I thought the forklift cleared, you thought wrong." Darren appeared from behind a row of shelves. His tone was flat, but his eyes gleamed with something meaner. "You've been here, 3 weeks? That's long enough to know how to stack," Darren said. Lewis stayed crouched, hands trembling as he pulled a box upright. "I'll clean it." "Yeah, you will." "You'll clean it, log the damage, and eat the cost on your next check." Lewis froze. "Wait, what? That's not, it's called accountability," Darren cut in. "Break company property, pay for it. Otherwise, what lesson do you learn?" "He didn't do it on purpose," Aiden said, stepping forward. Darren's head turned. "Are you his union rep now?" "No, just saying if the forklift clipped the corner, that's not on him." Darren's expression didn't change. "You want to pay for it instead?" "No. I want to know why a trainee's working solo on a pallet load that size." Darren stared at him for a beat too long. Then he shifted, smiled with his mouth but not his eyes. "Tell you what, why don't both of you clean it up? Since you're so invested." He walked off without waiting for a reply. Aiden helped Lewis mop up the spill, holding back the urge to throw the clipboard Darren left behind into the trash. Lewis apologized again and again, clearly afraid. "You're not getting charged for this," Aiden said quietly. "That's not legal." Lewis looked up. "He said he's done it before." Aiden nodded once. "Not anymore." Later that day, while stacking inventory near the backlot, Aiden caught snippets of conversation from 2 employees organizing bins. One of them, a woman in her 50s named Me, was venting under her breath. "They won't fix the damn heater in the locker room, but they're adding more shifts next month," she said. Her coworker, a tall man with a shaved head, nodded. "Yeah, and no one's gotten an overtime bonus in weeks. I asked about it, and guess what? Budget constraints." Aiden absorbed it all. No heat in the locker room, missing overtime pay. Budget constraints while they were clearly short-staffed and overworked. He asked Brielle during their next rotation, careful to keep his tone casual. "Do people actually get their overtime?" She glanced sideways. "Not always. Depends who's clocking you out. Sometimes it gets lost. You bring it up, they say they'll fix it, but nothing happens." "Who clocks it?" "Mostly Darren. Sometimes the floor techs, but he's the one who signs off." The pieces were clicking together. Darren controlled the schedule, the clock outs, and the floor reports. He had power over hours, discipline, and retaliation. And with his cousin as the site manager, no one questioned him. That night, Aiden returned home and pulled up the internal reports. He had full access, even under the alias. He dug through punch logs, comparing them to output data and shipment times. Several employees had worked 7 or more hours beyond their scheduled shifts in the past month, with no matching overtime recorded. The discrepancies all traced back to Darren's approval. The next day, Aiden arrived even earlier and asked to shadow the inbound team. He wanted eyes on a different part of the operation. There, he met a woman named Kendra who handled intake and logging. She was sharp, moved with purpose, and clearly knew every part of the inventory system. But she was quiet, too quiet. "Do you like working here?" he asked during a lull. She hesitated. "I like the job, not the nonsense." "What kind of nonsense?" Kendra looked around, then lowered her voice. "I've been here 7 years, never been late, never missed a safety check. Last month, I applied for the lead role on this team. Darren told me I was too intense and that I needed to smile more." Aiden's jaw tensed. "I trained the guy who got the job," she added. "He's been here 8 months. That night, Aiden sent a coded message to his executive assistant, a woman he trusted completely. He told her to pull employee files, especially disciplinary records and promotion histories, and send them to his private inbox. He also asked for security footage from the past 45 days focused on the warehouse clock in terminals and Darren's office. By the next morning, the footage confirmed what he suspected. Darren often walked workers to the time clock, then made them stand aside while he input manual overrides. In some cases, He was clocking them out up to an hour before their shift ended, then having them keep working. That afternoon, one of the temp workers, a man in his 30s named Marcus, accidentally dropped a box near the outbound dock. It wasn't a big mistake. No product was damaged. Darren made a show of it anyway. "Of course it's you," he drawled. "Every time I see you, something breaks." Marcus tried to explain, but Darren cut him off. "You can't even lift right. You don't belong here. You belong on a corner somewhere, not in a warehouse." The words hung in the air. Ugly. Deliberate, Aiden stepped forward. "That's enough." Darren turned, surprised. "Excuse me, you're done. Get your things. You're off the floor." "Who the hell do you think you are?" Aiden pulled off his glasses. "The owner." Silence. Forklift stopped. Heads turned. Darren blinked once, then laughed. "Right, and I'm the governor. I built this company from my garage, and I just watched you threaten, insult, and discriminate against one of my employees in front of half the team." Darren's laugh died. "You clock people out early. You deny overtime. You retaliate when people speak up, and you sit behind a clipboard while this place falls apart." The factory was dead quiet. "You're fired," Aiden said. "Effective now." Darren opened his mouth, then shut it. He stormed toward the exit, muttering under his breath, but no one followed him. No one defended him. Aiden turned to Marcus. "You're not going anywhere. You're doing good work. I saw it before the slip-up." Marcus nodded, stunned. Aiden walked through the floor, locking eyes with Brielle, Kendra, me, and Lewis. "To everyone here, I'm sorry it took me this long to see what's really happening. That ends today." The room stayed still, but something shifted. Not just surprise, relief. Aiden knew this wasn't over. One man removed wouldn't fix the entire system, but it was a start. And this time, he wasn't leaving things in someone else's hands. The next morning, Aiden walked into the factory with no pretense. No glasses, no fake name, no hoodie. Word had already spread. Some employees stared, others looked away. A few nodded, unsure what to expect. He moved through the rows of machinery and packaging lines until he found Brielle at her station, already working. She didn't stop when he approached, just glanced sideways, then kept going. "You don't have to pretend I'm not here," Aiden said. "I'm not pretending. I just don't know what happens next. You'll know soon." She didn't nod. She didn't smile, but she didn't walk away either. Aiden turned toward the floor. Kendra was by the intake scanner, logging shipments with quiet focus. Me was double-checking barcodes under dim lights near the outbound station. And Lewis. He was back near the loading dock, this time partnered with a more experienced team member. No one looked relaxed, just cautious. 2 hours into the shift, Aiden called for a brief halt. Not a break, just a pause. He stood on a pallet near the middle of the floor, clipboard in hand, and raised his voice enough to carry over the hum of machinery. "I know some of you don't trust what's happening. I don't blame you. I came here because I didn't like what I was hearing. What I saw was worse than I imagined." "That's on me." No one interrupted. They waited. "I can't undo what's already happened here, but I can make sure it doesn't keep happening." He stepped down, headed into the break room, and invited in the site manager, Darren's cousin, Roger. Roger had refused to answer his calls the night before. Now, face to face, there was nowhere to hide. "You didn't know?" Aiden asked him, arms folded. Roger shifted his weight. "I don't micromanage. I trust the people I put in charge. You trusted someone who manipulated clock systems, threatened people, and denied promotions based on personal bias. You missed all of it. I didn't see proof of that. You didn't look." Roger narrowed his eyes, voice tightening. "I've run this place 5 years. Numbers were stable until recently. Maybe if corporate had checked in more often." Aiden cut him off. "You're deflecting. I watched footage of your cousin tampering with time cards. You signed off on every one of them." Roger's jaw locked. "So what now?" "You're suspended, effective immediately. While we audit every action you authorized over the past 6 months. You're suspending me based on your Undercover act. I'm suspending you because the people you were responsible for have been working through injuries, skipping meals, and afraid to speak up. If even half of what I saw happened under your watch, you shouldn't be managing a vending machine." Roger left without another word. That afternoon, Aiden brought in someone new, a woman named Carla Nguyen, a regional logistics consultant he'd worked with during a warehouse revamp the previous year. She was sharp, direct, and didn't tolerate power games. She wasn't there to make friends. She was there to fix the system. Carla didn't bother with introductions. She walked the floor with a notepad, asking every employee she passed one question. "What's the biggest thing that slows you down every day?" Some said broken scanners. Others said the conveyor belts needed recalibration. A few mentioned lack of training, but the most repeated answer: "We don't have enough people." Aiden and Carla regrouped in a side office that hadn't been used in weeks. It was dusty, with an old monitor still stuck on a screensaver loop. Carla dropped a stack of notes on the desk. "Your average shift is running with 30% fewer people than the model requires," she said. "They're meeting quotas by skipping safety checks, working through breaks, and self-correcting errors without logging them." Aiden leaned against the desk. "I thought the automation upgrades would close that gap." "They would if anyone had trained them. Half the floor still doesn't know how to operate the scanner app you rolled out last quarter. No one here even knows who they're supposed to call when equipment fails." He exhaled slowly. "We need to reorient everything." "That's not a reorientation, that's a rebuild." "Then we rebuild." They started with shifts. Carla drafted a temporary rotation that redistributed the workload more evenly across departments. No one got more rest, but at least the strain was spread. As soon as it was posted, Aiden gathered the team. "I'm not promising miracles," he said. "But we're not going to pretend this place runs fine anymore. You'll get real breaks. If something breaks, report it. If anyone threatens you, come directly to me." Kendra raised her hand. "Go ahead," he said. "What happens to the people who got passed over, the ones who were silenced? They get reviewed, one by one, no assumptions, no favoritism." She nodded once, then returned to her station without a word. That evening, Aiden stayed until the last shift ended. He joined me at the scanner table, helping her log outgoing shipments. She didn't speak much, but at one point she passed him a container with the label slightly torn. "Used to be a second person checking these," she said. "Now it's just me." Easier to miss things. Aiden took the container, smoothed the label, and placed it back. "That's going to change, but it'll take time." "No offense," Me said, "but we've heard that before. I'm not asking you to believe me today. Just watch what happens next." Later, he walked out with the final group. The night air was cool, quiet. Lewis was locking up the back gate. When he saw Aiden, he hesitated. "I didn't think you'd still be here." "Neither did I." Lewis stepped closer. "You really fired him?" "Yes. People said you'd just move him somewhere else. He's not coming back. Not here, not anywhere in this company." Lewis nodded slowly. "Okay." Aiden didn't offer promises. He just watched as Lewis disappeared into the dark, shoulders a little straighter than they'd been before. Inside the factory, the hum of machines had gone silent for the night. But something quieter had started moving, not yet, but the beginning of it. 3 weeks passed. The factory still smelled like cardboard dust and citrus cleaner, and the overhead lights still hummed just a little too loud. But the air felt different now, more alert, less heavy. The damage wasn't gone, but the rot had been cut out, and the rebuilding had begun. Aiden didn't return to his office. He worked from a borrowed desk in the back of the operations center, using a repurposed metal shelf as his filing space and a rolling chair that squeaked every time he shifted. He didn't want distance. Not yet. The first major audit was complete. Over 24 time card overrides had been flagged, and back pay was processed to employees who had worked unpaid hours. Carla handled the logistics, but Aiden personally handed out each check. No speeches, just direct conversation, face to face. When he gave Lewis his envelope, the young man stared at it for a moment. "You didn't owe me this," he said. "I did," Aiden replied. "We all did." Lewis folded the check and slipped it into his coat without another word. Kendra was promoted to shift lead the following Monday. She didn't throw a party, didn't bring in cupcakes or balloons. She just took the clipboard from her predecessor's hook, reviewed the day's rotation, and got to work. That afternoon, she rewrote the intake schedule to reduce bottlenecks and sent Aiden a brief note about a faulty barcode scanner. He forwarded it to procurement with a single line: "Replace it." Today, Me didn't ask for anything, but Aiden noticed she started speaking up more during prep meetings. Not loud, just direct, with certainty. And when a new temp assigned to outbound struggled with the scanner system, she trained him without being asked, quietly, thoroughly. Brielle's situation was more complicated. She'd carried too much for too long, and the fatigue hadn't lifted just because the environment had started to improve. Aiden approached her during a midday lull when she was checking lot numbers against the manifest. "I've been thinking about your role," he said. She glanced up, expression unreadable. "You've been acting as a line lead without the title or support. That ends today." She raised her eyebrows. "You're offering me a promotion?" she asked. "Yes. With adjusted pay, a defined scope, and a support person to split coverage. I already had HR draft the details." She looked at the manifest again before answering. "I'll take it," she said, "but I want to train my replacement myself." "I'm not leaving that line until someone's ready. Deal." The tension in her shoulders didn't vanish, but she didn't look back down at her manifest either. The new shift organizer, a man named Devon, had transferred from another site where he'd been running a team of 8. He was competent, organized, and didn't talk unless he had something useful to say. When he walked into the break room on his first morning, he didn't give a speech or ask anyone to introduce themselves. He just said, "I'm here to support the people doing the real work. If something's broken, tell me. If I don't fix it fast enough, tell me louder." By the end of the week, Kendra had already looped him into 2 layout revisions, and Brielle had flagged a miscalibrated belt he got repaired within 48 hours. But not every wound healed cleanly. On a Thursday afternoon, a customer service rep named Alia from the regional office visited the facility unannounced. She claimed she was there for a cross-functional processing review, but her questions were vague, and her tone rubbed people the wrong way. "I'm just here to see what's really going on," she told Aiden, not realizing who he was at first. "You know how these places are. They always say they're fixed, but once you look underneath, you're standing in the middle of a functioning shift," he replied. "If you have specific concerns, speak clearly. Otherwise, don't create new ones." She blinked, then narrowed her eyes. "I'll take it up with whoever's in charge," she said. "You already are." That was the end of her visit. Afterward, Aiden pulled her file. She'd been transferred twice in the past year, both times after complaints about her conduct during regional evaluations. He forwarded her pattern to HR and recommended she be reassigned to an internal only role, no facility access, until she completed retraining. Zero tolerance went both ways. One evening, as the last truck of the shift backed out of the lot, Aiden walked the outbound floor and noticed Marcus restacking a crate twice his size. His movements were precise, his posture careful, less frantic than before. "You staying on full time?" Aiden asked. Marcus nodded. "Kendra said I was in the rotation now. I signed the paperwork this morning." "You good with that?" Marcus adjusted the strap on his glove. "Yeah, I just want to do the work, not get watched like I'm going to mess up every 5 minutes." "No one should have to work like that," Aiden said. Marcus didn't respond. He just went back to stacking, but he didn't look over his shoulder anymore. Carla's temporary contract ended after 4 weeks. On her last day, she handed Aiden a 3-page summary of recommendations, most of which they'd already enacted. At the bottom, she'd written a single note: "Don't stay away too long this time." He nodded and walked her to the parking lot himself. The final step came in the form of a floor-wide meeting, not in a boardroom, not with catered snacks, just folding chairs set up between conveyor lanes, the machines powered down for 20 minutes. "I won't be here every day," Aiden said. "That's not my job. But from now on, someone from my office will be walking this floor every week, not to check boxes, to listen." He looked around the room. "We lost good people because we weren't watching, because we assumed things worked until they didn't. That's our failure, not yours." No one clapped. That wasn't the culture here, but no one looked away either. After the meeting, Aiden stopped by the time clock station. A new policy placard had been mounted beside it. All time edits must be co-signed by the employee, no exceptions. He didn't need to check who posted it, he already knew. As he stepped outside, the sun was low behind the warehouse, casting long shadows across the lot. He paused at the gate, watching as Lewis and Devon discussed something near the loading bay, Brielle reviewing a checklist with a new hire, Kendra rebalancing the roster for the weekend shift. They didn't need him to fix the place anymore. They just needed him to stay close enough so no one broke it again.